What's up, everybody? If you want to support us, like this video, and if you make it all the way through, comment your favorite Pokemon.
He's in the garage and he sees this thing, like, on the ground, drawn in chalk, right? And there's literally, like, blood and feathers and candles and stuff all around it, right?
I hate this person.
But
There's a lot of sayings that follow along with those, like speaking it into existence and stuff like that.
Back in my head and says, get down on my knees.
To work in the field that we work in, we have to put all that and feelings to the side.
Die a little quieter, please.
There's too much blood. I mean, like, you might as well just give up.
these secret societies came out of, like, the old mystery cult.
Great. Sir, you can leave. Fair.
I think that they are prepping for apocalypse.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Season 2, Episode 8. My name is Colby.
My name is Caleb.
My name's Steven. We have our guest today.
My name is Eric.
He's been in a previous podcast of ours.
Yes, he has.
a few of them.
Eric.
Yeah, a few of them.
I even made a whole short just about him where Colby was talking about, like, the Illuminati or something, and I was like, no, we call that the powers that be.
Right.
He's in our conspiracy theory podcast, and he's also in our intro. Not the video intro, but like the music.
Nice.
That is the
I had to
video
be.
intro.
I had
The
to be
music.
I'm talking
He is
about
in the video, but he's talking about, like,
when you say
Yeah.
you're in the intro, they're like, oh, I see him. He's right there. Like, no, his voice, audio.
like at the end where it goes, that's you talking.
That's you talking. By the
read
way.
Nice.
Today we're going to be talking about some black magic that was going on in Alexandria, which is a town near where we live.
Yep. But first, let's have some ghost.
Hey, Colby. You got any extra ghosts in here? I mean, you have all these cans sitting here. There's got to be at least one, right? Hey, how much is left of that one? Huh?
Sorry, last one.
Ah! Alright, let's go back to the store.
Woo, that's good.
It's not as bad
that's
as the
good.
last one.
Oh, you didn't like the last one?
Just really tart. Like, kick you in the
got
back
like
of your
that
head.
super sour one last time.
No,
right?
yeah, I think so.
You're really gonna like grape when we could get you one.
Right.
You really
It
gonna
tastes like grape juice.
Well, it was actually on my
I bought
list
the
of.
hydration powder from Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Grape
actually
Welch's
on my
grape
list of
flavor.
demands today.
I tried to find one. I went to stores.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in the last, like, 3 weeks.
I found some in stores not from here, but I ordered some. So whenever I get the order in, I'll give it to somebody to give to you.
No, you're good. I was just messing with Steve.
There should be one at the gas station Walmart in Kingsville.
Right.
Nope, he went there the other day. Yesterday.
What about that store we don't shop at near Texas Roadhouse?
Kroger?
Kroger's.
I heard they had a special limited edition Red Bull there.
They might, but they do sell Ghost and Kroger's, and they do sell grape. Kroger's. All right, so our intro done? Like the video?
Yeah, we're being videoed right now, bro.
I know.
But, okay, so I guess I'll just jump into it.
Yeah.
So, like, we talked last time about, just like woo-woo stuff,
Yeah.
and that's sort of why I'm here.
Pretty entertaining.
And,
We got most views on your videos.
I really appreciate that. I like that people like to listen to me talk.
Yeah, you're a really smart guy.
Well, what's funny is I stopped to get some windshield wipers today,
Uh-huh.
and I told the lady behind the counter that we were doing a conspiracy theory / whatever podcast today. And she goes, "Oh, really? I'm interested in that." And I said, "Oh, here's the card."
Did you tell her that like we wouldn't be uploading it for like 2 weeks?
Yeah, but I said, here's our card. You can subscribe to our channel and watch out for the video.
But
Yeah.
we have previous
So
ones that they can
if,
watch too.
If you're watching, this is a shout out to you in advance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are 2 episodes previous to this one that if you haven't seen, you can go
And they're-
look at and that I ramble on.
Compared to our newer episodes, you could say it's probably 4 because they used to be an hour long. Now we cut them to 30 minutes.
But I will put the link up right there to go watch at least one of them, and then you can just go to the our channel and watch the rest of them. Watch all of them.
And watch all of them and see how much of them are actually coming out to be true.
Yeah. But back to the ritual
Okay.
thing.
So a little bit of context, right?
Yes.
We live on the outskirts of what I guess you could consider a medium-sized city.
Mhm.
You know,
It used to
And-
be more popular, but yeah.
right? But it's sort of declined in the
Thanks to
recent
our
years.
governor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's a pretty small community.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like everybody knows everybody for the most part. You know, everybody's pretty tight knit. You know,
Yeah. If you go to the store, you'll definitely see somebody you know.
And
No, right.
I'm only going to cut you off because I want people to understand I'm not talking about our current governor. It's declined because of an older governor from history, Huey P. Long.
right?
I want to get because anyway,
I feel like we've grown since. Yeah. Okay.
So all of that to say, it's not a very big town, right? So like, and we live in the deep South, so it's very, very Christian. Regardless of what flavor of Christian it is, whether it's Pentecostal, Catholic, Baptist,
we have all of
Protestant, Apostolic, like we've got it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On
And
the
then we
same
got-
street.
We got several
Right.
different kinds of Baptists. We got
No, right? Like
it's
there's
like having like going down the road and you got all these fast food franchises from different companies. Just replace the fast food with churches.
This street right here. There's
Yeah.
an Apostolic church, there's a Pentecostal church, there's a Baptist church, and what's the other one?
I don't
The
know.
one like right there.
I think there's a there's a
Once you-
Catholic and Pentecostal.
Once you
over there.
get deeper
and a
into
non-denominational.
the main 3, then I don't know the names of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just on this street here.
right, but well, it's deeply Christian, right?
Yeah.
So one of the last places on earth that you would expect for some really weird witchy stuff to be going on, right? So a guy that I know happens to be a general contractor, does business with a guy who rents out properties, right? Now, these are expensive properties. These aren't, your average run of the mill, couple $100 a month properties. These are multi-million-dollar homes that are going for like 4 figures monthly, like
okay.
$3,500, right? I think is what was said that this place cost.
I'm in the wrong business.
No,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
So he goes there and he's evicting these people for non-payment. It's a tattoo artist from LA and his girlfriend. And changing out the locks, walking around, doing a general inspection, right? And these people are like frantically packing. And he's in the garage and he sees this thing like on the ground drawn in chalk, right? And there's literally like blood and feathers and candles and stuff all around it. So he's just like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And takes a picture of it. And guy's deeply Christian. Again, we're in the Bible Belt, so he is freaked out by this because it's very obviously something that is diametrically opposed to like whatever he's comfortable with. So calls the property owner calls literally the Catholic diocese and the police. So the cops show up first, then the priests show up, and then the FBI shows up. All of this to say, like, here in Alexandria, this guy was sacrificing rats and chickens to, I guess we can only assume either find power or answers or whatever, but he was using a Saturnian seal, right?
Also known as the seal of Saturn. If you're curious about what it looks like, you can look it up.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really want to put it on the video because I don't want to like
Right.
have that in people's houses watching,
Which is part of the keys of Solomon, right? So like biblical Solomon was given keys or magic circles that gave him the ability to control jinn or demons or angels or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good or bad, it didn't matter. Solomon had control over all of them. So, like, there's a legitimacy to it. And, you know, even if you're secular and you're not religious, like, there's still somebody who believes in this stuff enough to kill animals about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, it's a big problem.
Uh-huh.
And so it was really crazy to hear about it. And, like, he's talking about it. And I'm just like, here, really?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, evidently, it's a big problem. And, like, it's a problem to the point where it's not just animals that are going missing, if you catch my drift.
Oh, it's caught.
So, like,
He caught that drift. He's
Right.
chilly.
but it's wild to me how, like, this is the world we're living in now, right?
Face pop
Yeah.
chills.
Right.
And which we knew that it was going to eventually get to this extent. But back to the King Solomon thing, I think Stephen wanted to elaborate some on that. Well, he wanted us to elaborate. I don't know a whole lot. I know, like, the bare minimum, but I'm sure you obviously know a lot about it.
Right. Well, I have a lot of, like, surface level knowledge.
Yeah.
Because, like, you get to a point where it goes past curiosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I just want to know. Like, I want to see it so that if I ever see it again, I can be like, oh, it's that thing.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I saw this guy
Yeah. Okay.
was just like, it's a pentagram.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I was in my mind thinking, you know, like Wicca pentagram.
Mhm.
And that's not at all what
when
it
you
was.
messaged me, you said it looked kind of like
The Masonic
Masonic.
square and compass.
and the V's and everything from that. And then I looked at it and was like, no, that is the seal of Saturn.
And Steven knows that because he just started watching
I did started watching Supernatural.
which is funny because if you watch, it's either episode 1 or episode 2.
It's episode
Steven
1, I
said-
think.
Season 2, episode 1. I think that's
Well-
what Steven said.
No,
It was like
of our
when we-
podcast.
Oh,
when we
yeah,
first
yeah, yeah.
started, it was like
I
season
said
1.
I'd never watch it
episode 1
because
and
it
2,
was too long. And if I did, I'd start at season 1, episode 1,
and watch the whole thing.
which I did. And now I'm on season 4.
Oh my lord.
I still got, what, 10, 15 seasons left?
But I believe he was asking for that power to kind of know what the demons like and don't like, so he can kind of like combat them in a way.
Well, no, right. So that's the whole thing about I think it's Goetic magic, the keys of Solomon, the lesser and greater keys,
Yeah.
is like basically, from what I understand, there were 36 like major demons that he got the names of.
Mhm.
And there were 3 for each aspect of the zodiac. I'm pretty sure. And a whole bunch of lesser ones that were smaller, but those were like the ones, the big ones.
Yeah.
And those were the ones that you know, by burning a certain organ out of a certain fish, you could
Yeah.
keep away. You know, and like that was what he did. Is he built this book on how to keep these guys away,
Mhm.
what the good guys like what you can do to bring the guys who give you good luck, like all of that kind of good stuff. And that was what it was all about.
Yeah. And then he became known as kind of like the father of witchcraft. Really.
Right. That's exactly it. Like
Yeah.
as like even in the Eastern and Western, or no, it's all Western esotericism really, because the Eastern esotericism, it's all like Chinese. It gets into really weird stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't dived down any of the Chinese rabbit holes yet because that's a whole nother like culture. It's wild.
Mhm.
But no, it's I don't know.
I did watch this guy that because honestly, I kind of like grew up, you know, in church, and so I've heard a lot of the parables and stuff. And actually, currently, whenever I go to work, I'm still listening to the Bible at this point. Whenever I'm either going to work or coming back from work, I listen to like 2 chapters before I start listening to music or whatever else. And so I'm like learning more and more, but I don't remember hearing anything about the whole King Solomon thing. But I did see this guy who was talking about it and kind of explaining, which is why I know the bare minimum that I do. But at the end of the video, he was like he would summon the demons and then ask them who was like the name, because you could summon them by calling their names, kind of like dragons in Skyrim. I think that's
Right, yeah.
pretty interesting. But anyway, what name was like at the head of all the demons, or like the name that was more powerful than all the demons' names? And then they would like tell him Jesus and stuff, which kind of explained to me why it's often said that he's the name above all names.
Right.
So that's why he kind of did that, to figure out like if you were having problems with whatever demon, what name you would call to like get them to leave you alone.
Right.
And so that's what he said they responded to King Solomon with. But anyway, back to the whole ritual situation.
No, right. Well, getting into what you were talking about, there are a lot of people nowadays, like especially in the Christian scene, because names are really important, right? Like, and that's what I guess a lot of people don't realize nowadays is just like a lot of the names that exist today are remnants from antiquity.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, and especially with the things like the biblical names, you know? So, like, it's just wild to me how, like, you can say something and it bring, like, a certain energy with it. And it's not, like, your intent, but the word itself.
That's why I don't mess around a lot with, like, people joking about, oh, I'm going to myself, or this, I want this person to die. I'm like, no, I hate this person.
But
there's a lot of sayings that follow along with those, like speaking it into existence and stuff like that, and speaking with the tongue. Like, you say stuff like that, and like, or also be careful what you wish for, because you can say all this stuff and that holds power to it.
Even like music, that was originated using like some ancient witch or whatever, even, or some head witch. I don't remember how that went, but somebody even said that music is a type of witchcraft.
Well, no, it absolutely is, and I'm not to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I've recently listened to a lecture about a guy in a YouTube video. He was talking about how he genuinely believes that music theory is witchcraft because of the circle of fifths. So, like, it literally creates its own geometry within a circle, right? So, and what is witchcraft? Like, if you're talking physicality, like you're pouring a circle, you're drawing a circle, right? So it's just like, if you think of it in like a meta sense, right? You can do the exact same thing with music internally inside your mind and create that same circle in a harmonic sense, right?
Yeah.
So like and that's one of the reasons why I don't go to concerts anymore, is because of the fact that, like, I don't know if we talked about it last time, but I think we did, about how people were like losing their memories at the Taylor Swift concerts.
Yeah.
So,
and what was that big one with I don't really listen to his music. I only heard a few of them. He
Travis
did like
Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, the big Travis Scott concert. People died.
Yeah, and people died.
Yeah, like, and that's, people are like, they felt stuff in the crowd. Like, there were people who said, there was a presence. Like, you could, and then there was what was it? Like, was there an Adele
Isn't
concert?
he the one that had the shoes, the satanic shoes?
No, that was Lil Nas X.
That was Lil Nas X.
Okay.
But I think there was an Adele concert or something where, like, all of a sudden you see it. And you know how when people fall over like Jenga blocks, how like, even if you push the first person, like, by the time it gets to the third or fourth row of people, like, they've caught themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if they're big people, like, if you were to push over Steven and it would have been 3 rows of guys like me, we still would be able to, like, catch him.
Yeah.
Right? But a video, it's almost like someone just rolled over the crowd like they were wheat. You know what I mean? Like, roll over wheat with your hand.
Yeah.
Everybody just fell like dominoes. Like, there was this gust of wind that just pushed everybody over. And you could see it because people was holding up their cell phones in the air, right? So it literally looks like a wave of dominoes, like you would see like at the stadiums and stuff when they do the literal wave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it was just crazy. And it's just like, what pushed them down? You know what I mean? Because they got pushed. You can see it.
Mhm.
And it's not like they just fell over like dominoes. Like something pushed like 100, 200 people like all at once, just in like a wave. Like something came from the stage and went out. Like it's just
So what's this thing that we always see in like which shows and which movies, like to amplify a spell?
Hold on. We got a garbage truck driving by. It's probably going to
Stop right
Cause
here,
some-
make a whole lot of noise.
audio problems.
So back to what I was saying. What is in every witch show or movie, like Charmed or any of those kind of witchcraft shows? You got to have multiple people to amplify the spell.
right.
So you have these concerts. Okay, so now they got a bunch of people singing their songs. If they add the spell into the song, it amplifies the spell. On that note, going back to what you were saying about the music and me saying amplifying the spell, there's a show that came out recently that I watched because I watched WandaVision. Well, Agatha came out, and it was cool at the very beginning and stuff, but then it got to a certain point to where it just got weird for me to watch, because one of the episodes is about this woman. Her mother was protecting her from demons. It may not be demons, but from a family curse.
Right.
And in order to do that, she had to get a spell that was strong enough to protect her. And what she did was she created this song. Well, she didn't create the song. She made the song out of this spell that Agatha's in the show's biological son sang to help. They sang it together as a lullaby, or not a lullaby, but sang it together.
Right.
But moving on, she made a song out of that spell. And that spell was to protect her daughter, and she used the crowd's voice and energy to amplify that spell.
Right.
And then further throughout the show, you come to find out, Agatha it was all a con. Agatha was using that to kill other witches, to steal their powers and stuff like that. But just this, and there was a lot of demonic stuff that happened in some of those episodes where like demons were, and that's with the song, demons were flying from the ceiling and attacking the witches.
No, right. And you in the show you
And
can
it
see them.
made me so like that person we're talking about. I
Right.
was like, whoa, hold up. I can't, this is in my subconscious now. And then also in music, there's secret messages in them to where you don't really, if you don't pay attention to the lyrics, there's like obvious messages in some songs
No, right.
where
And then there's subliminal
flat out
messaging.
tells you this is what they're singing about. Like it's in
Right.
there, and we don't think about it because we
Right.
don't really listen to
Because,
the lyrics.
oh, it's just a song, or
Yeah.
they're just playing. And then on top of that, like think about especially the things that involve like violence and drug use and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then like all of these people who go to these concerts religiously. And when
Yeah.
I say religiously, I mean like we were talking about Taylor Swift, like the Swifties are bad,
Yeah.
right?
Pretty much
So
like,
think about the lasers, the flashing lights, the strobing, the spirals,
Yeah.
the circular shape
the
of the
fog and
stage,
smoke. And,
right? The fog, like it's literally designed to captivate people.
Yeah.
And it's not captivation in a way it's like, oh, this is super cool. It's captivation in like a hypnotic trance type way,
Yeah,
right?
it appeals to all your senses.
No, right. So when you get there, and if you're there and you're like 100% devoted in that moment to what's happening in that moment, like you can go into like a trance-like state without even knowing it. And
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to these people is they went into this trance, right?
Mhm.
They're being used as batteries to perform whatever function it is that's happening, whatever it is that they want to happen, right?
Yeah.
Whatever energy they're putting into whatever. And then the day after, these people are just like,
Extremely tired.
right.
Because
and they
I've-
have no idea what happened.
I've
you know.
attended something one time, and it had to do with something else, but it was a concert per se. And they were saying stuff on stage, and they were singing certain types of music, and I all of a sudden just felt really heavy and tired. And the next day I felt like
Hungover almost.
pretty much like
Yeah.
what that feeling would be, hungover. And I just was mopey and tired and like exhausted, and I felt like the energy was just drained out of me.
Right.
And I didn't start initially feeling that way until they started talking like that and singing like that on stage. And I realized then, like from my personal experience, that they were still in my opinion, because from the religious side, your spiritual energy. Because we all have an energy within us. And even if you don't believe in religion, if you go back to the martial arts sense, all the martial artists believe there is an eternal energy in us.
Right.
And that
Chi,
you can,
prana.
you can flow that energy through you. And depending on how you throw your strikes, it's how much energy you use.
Right.
And the balance of everything. And whatever anyone believes, that internal energy that we have in us, whether it's chi, spiritual, anything like that, for me it's spiritual, they have a way of harvesting that energy.
Right. So like I genuinely believe that people, whether you're religious, not religious, entirely secular, scientific, like whatever your background is, whatever your philosophy is personally, everybody needs to come to terms with the fact that there are things going on that not only can we not see or quantify with any kind of math or science, but that we can't control.
No.
But they can, right?
Because they're in our media, they're in our songs. And there was a while back you were talking about, there was a show that they put out and they used actual spells, and these witches were like,
Vampire Diaries.
do you not understand what you just did? You put real spells on people.
So the lady that was writing the script would take some of the words and maybe put it in a different language or something like that, but basically copied and pasted real spells because she didn't believe that they were, anything to be worried about.
No, right.
And they put them in the Vampire Diaries, and then after Vampire Diaries came out, like these New Orleans witches or whatever kind of like hit her up and was like, hey, you have no idea what you just did to everybody watching this show. Like you put these bad death spells and stuff in their houses.
And to tag on that, they put that in people's houses through television.
Right.
Our radios, televisions, computers, cell phones.
Well, no, and we're getting kind of woo with it, but think about this from a psychological standpoint, right? Like just purely scientifical from the science of psychology, right? Everything that you do, every decision that you make based off of your experiences and the decisions that you've made prior to that, right? So if you externally from someone's life have the ability to, whether it's through media in the form of television, music, internet, social media, whatever, if you can affect their life psychologically in any way, and you see it on TikTok all the time, people will avoid certain trends or they'll go after certain trends. Anymore.
Well, if you didn't delete the app, you can still get on it. But I'm going to tag on to what you're saying and let you continue. Before TikTok, before our time, commercials, right?
No, right.
Food.
The psychology
you got hungry
of
from
food
watching
commercials.
a food commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was
Even
deliberate.
better, jingles.
So like,
good Lord.
Well, no, but right. But then we're getting back into it. It's just like a lot of people will be like, oh, well, it's the psychology of it, right? It's just like, okay, well, what is psychology if not a fundamental understanding of the invisible workings of the inside of the human mind?
Yeah.
Right? And like that's a supernatural aspect of things in and of itself, because like if I have the ability to psychologically break down you with a profile based on my observations of you, is that not magic in the sense that I could look at you and without ever having met you, break down certain aspects of your life that you probably wouldn't even tell your like wife?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like back in the day before, like way back in the day, I don't even remember the date. They were talking about how they honestly had no idea what the brain was for.
Right.
And they thought that it was just to like cushion something.
Back then, they explained everything with magic. Now we explain it with science.
Well, no, right.
But science is just like a delayed.
Yeah.
Well, no, but that's just it. Science is and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Science is a lazy way of generating a new religion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're only looking at the things that you can quantify, then what ends up happening is you generate a very materialistic worldview. whether that's deliberately or by accident.
Yeah.
If you think that the only things that exist are the things that you can put your hands on and that you can study and that you can read, then like I could very easily say things like, "Oh, well, then you'll never understand the wind truly."
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so that
Contradicts a lot of things.
Right. Well, people will be like, "Oh, well, we can take volumetric data from X amount of sources across the country, and I can give you wind data and specific telemetry on exactly what's happening across all 50 states."
Well, if that's the case with the supernatural shows where they have data of all these ghost things walking through the house, is that not the same thing?
I mean, from a legal standpoint, it kind of is, but I feel like also in science, once they get to a point where they haven't been able to obtain the research because it's not anything materialistic that they can put their hands on,
Right.
they'll just start using like hypotheses and then make decisions based off of their hypotheses. And whenever you're like, where's your evidence? Well, we have this hypothesis.
Right. And it's literally the same thing as like religious dogmatic or dogmatic religion. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, oh, well, we have this series of numbers and these equations that work for 90 some odd % of all of the equations we could possibly have for anything, and the data all fits. Well, then the question becomes, well, what about that, 10% or less of situations where the math doesn't really math? And they're just like, oh, well, those are isolated incidents and we don't really count those in data.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so whenever something contradicts the data that you have that conveniently, perpetuates the narrative that you're putting forward, if it doesn't agree with that, then you just don't include it in your data at all. And then on top of that, there are a lot of fundamental aspects of what we know about physics that is based purely off of what we consider to be a constant as the speed of light. Well, it's been proven recently that the speed of light isn't a constant. So every single one of these hard mathematic equations, and when I say hard, I mean rigid, firm, you have to use this particular equation in order for all of these other mathematical functions to work. If the speed of light isn't a constant, then you're tossing in a variable that completely destabilizes the fundamentals of quantum and particle physics.
Yeah.
And the speed of light thing, I think I heard this the other day, is basically say you were in a spaceship traveling at the speed of light, right? And you were to turn on a flashlight. That flashlight's light is going the speed of light, not you.
Right.
That's why it's not a constant. You can't actually measure it.
Well, no, but that's the thing, is it's just if you can't actually measure it with any degree of rigidity, then how can you say precisely what it is? And you can say, oh, well, whenever we use this particular equation, it gives us numbers between this and this. And whenever we have a range, then it gives us the ability to say that the speed of light is within, this 14 decimal number or this 140 decimal number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But either way, you're getting into semantics. But whenever you're talking about astrological exponential growth, right? The difference between Earth and Saturn, say, in size, right? If you're off by 0.00001, that's potentially thousands of kilometers of diameter of that planet difference in that math problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's just when you're talking about at scale, these problems start to break down, right? And for me personally, I genuinely believe that the answer is in God, right? Literally. Because if God is the constant,
really understand. Yeah.
well, no, right. If God is the constant, then God is the one who's making sure that everything is functioning the way it's supposed to, right? So he's the one making sure that things are functioning within the parameters that he designed as a program for us to be here in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's just talking from a computer standpoint, because that's sort of how I look at it. Is in the beginning, God was the ultimate programmer. You know what I mean? And he was just basically said, "Let there be light," and pressed a button, and in a keystroke, bloop, everything happened. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's just like in the mind of God, you know, it's that's all it is. It's a thought, you know, and like it's crazy to me how we can get to a point where you have particle and quantum physics talking about things, and they just start to get really philosophical. You know what I mean? And it's just like, we've already broken down all of this philosophy. We've got thousands of years of conversations, dissertations, arguments, counter-arguments, rebuttals on theology and philosophy. So why is it that we have this group of scientists who are trying to generate this new religion and redefine what God is based on 4 fundamental principles?
The one world order.
Right. And that's just it. It's just like they're basically giving God a different name, breaking it into pieces, compartmentalizing it, and then using that to quantify and justify the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, me personally, I don't think that there is a single reason that anyone could come up with to reasonably justify any quantum computer. Period. There's no reason for it. We have no reason for it. Like, we don't even have a reason to be thinking about leaving planet Earth right now.
Yeah.
No reason. None. We have literally not even finished mapping out the bottom of our own oceans.
Yeah.
And if we have, then they're not going to give it to us.
Well, I mean, they've already finished mapping out P. Diddy's house, so.
Yeah, right.
That took a while.
They burned that
That's
thing.
the bottom of the
They
ocean
burned
right
that
there.
thing to the ground.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good reason why to get out of here.
But back to how they're doing all this, and I believe it's they're normalizing things, and back to the normalizing is they're normalizing we're getting back to the satanic witchcraft stuff.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in the next episode. Anyway, we'll get back on the next podcast potentially in a couple days or in 7 days from whenever you are now watching this, whenever it be, about the PTB. And we're going to talk more about that. And
Peanut butter, tomatoes.
structure.
So before we close out, let's put a cherry
Bacon?
on top with what we're talking about today,
Okay.
which is the ritual. And I don't know how to put the cherry on top. Anybody got an idea? Put it into this.
Get it out of Alexandria.
Right.
Keep your stuff in New Orleans where it belongs.
So
Yeah.
I can give a little bit of a little caveat to leave with. Have you guys ever seen the TV series True Detective with Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew
I
McConaughey.
believe,
Right.
maybe.
So he's a detective, right? And it spans a couple decades. Long story short, he's in Louisiana, I'm pretty sure, and they're tracking down this cult that's sacrificing people.
Yeah.
And all of that to say, I think that this has been a problem specifically for us, Louisiana, for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And that this is something that has been known in certain groups.
It just hasn't been publicized.
Well, right. And it's only just now getting to the point where it's become, I guess, big enough again to warrant public scrutiny.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever group it is that's doing things has been doing it for so long that other smaller unaffiliated groups saw it, recognized it for what it was, and decided to also start doing things because they were just comfortable with the idea. It's like, oh, well, if these guys are doing the big stuff, who's going to care if, you know, I'm doing the thing?
A diluted version.
Right.
That's something for everybody to think about, something to look into.
Go follow us on our social medias. We have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Obviously, follow us on YouTube.
Yep. Well, make sure you watch our shorts. And if you want to make a small video for us to add at the end of one of our videos and be able to see yourself on YouTube, go ahead and add it to us.
And one last thing. I want everybody to like, comment, and subscribe.
Don't do witchcraft.
Don't do witchcraft at home. Don't do witchcraft at home, kids.
Right.